It's the Bulls Podcast, episode 29.
Hey, Chicago Bulls fans. It's time for your Bulls Podcast. Here are your hosts, Marcus Couch and Wise Black.
Welcome to the Bulls Podcast, coming to you from bullspodcast.com. This is where we bring you the latest news, reviews, rants, rumors, and opinions on the players, coaches, and front office of your Chicago Bulls. My name is Marcus Couch, and with me, the ever-present co-host, Mr. Wise Black.
As you know, yo, what's up? What's good with all my Bull lifers out there, man? Time is winding down on the Bulls season, and man, we're getting closer and closer to the draft day. So I'm basically just priming my mind for the off season right now, man. But you know what? It ain't over yet, so we still have a ton to get into. So let's do it.
All right, let's find out what we got this episode. Should Zach shut it down for the season? We'll debate that. The Bulls are officially out of the playoffs. LeBron passes MJ, but MJ is still the GOAT. We'll explain why. 3 potential trade ideas for Kris Dunn and a preview of upcoming games. Come tank with us. We'll be right back after this quick timeout.
Bulls fans, remember to follow the show on social media at Bulls Podcast and at bullspodcast.com.
All right, we're back. Should Zach LaVine be shutting it down? He's missed the last 2 games with a patellar tendon strain, as revealed the other day by Jim Boylan. There's no reason for the Bulls to rush Zach LaVine back, given their place in the standings, and they can turn around the combination of Otto Porter, Shaq Harrison, and Antonio Blakeney on the wing while Zach is on the sidelines, and it may help out our tank tremendously. But the question is this. Should Zach consider just shutting it down for the entire season, the rest of this season? From a competitive standpoint, of course, it's well known how Jim Boylan wants to win. Remember, he's the coach who had his players doing extra wind sprints and push-ups when he took over. But even the Bulls' boisterous coach knows what's at stake here. And Casey Johnson of the Chicago Tribune got a quote from him. He said, "What we're hoping for is every day he responds and gets a little better. But it's not the situation or the time of year to push a guy like Zach to try to get a certain seed or home court. That's as simply as I can put it. I think my personality. I want to win every game and play our ass off every game, but we've got to be smart too." So that kind of gives that indication, I guess. With the addition of Otto Porter Jr. and the continued growth of Lauri Markkanen, a healthy LaVine would excite fans and probably pull off a few more wins. In an era where tanking is the norm and mediocrity is NBA purgatory, the risk for those wins is just too high. So they talked to Zach, and his approach on this injury says there's no reason to go out there and try and risk anything right now. It's just not smart. There really isn't a better way to say that. Of course, Zach wants to be on the court performing at a high level like he has most of the season, but this season has always been about what comes next. And by next, we mean next season. Rest and recuperation is the most common sense approach for their budding star. So for the Chicago Bulls, another serious Zach LaVine injury would be a little too severe to endure. I'm in agreement with this. Wise, what do you think?
Yeah, me as well. You know what? I'm glad that Zach sees it the same way many of us do. Maybe for different reasons than some of us, but still it's good to know that he's not pressing to get back on the court at this point, considering the circumstances. But I have to say, I was at my grandmother's house earlier today watching the news a bit, and the sports announcer stated that on Channel 9 News, he stated that there are reports that LaVine is feeling a lot better and he might not have to sit out the rest of the season. And I immediately cringed at the thought of them even considering his return this year. You know what? Not only is it meaningless for him to return because, we're not going to the playoffs, but also because he has nothing left to prove this year. Last year, LaVine promised that he would work to become the best player he could be. He comes in this year and he proves he's a bona fide scorer, averaging 23-plus points per game. And, since the All-Star break of this year, he's bolstered his stats to a career high in nearly every category, or at least the ones that matter most in points, assists, and rebounds. And this dude, he's pretty much just done, if you ask me. He has nothing left to prove for the season. So the best thing to do is obviously go into the offseason and build on the improvements he made this year. For me, LaVine gets an A for his player grade this season. He passed. He's good.
Yeah, exceeded our expectations in every single way. So that's our take on Zach LaVine. You can let us know what your take is. Call us at our Bulls podcast call-in line, 312-239-8586. Let us know if you agree or disagree with us about our approach to Zach LaVine. We'll be right back after this quick timeout, and we've got a couple exciting and somewhat hilarious stories right after this. Hey, most of you guys are getting the show on Apple Podcasts, also known as iTunes, but if you don't have the Bulls Podcast on your sub list yet, just go to bullspodcast.com/Apple, and it will forward you right to our iTunes listing. If you are subscribed, we would appreciate a review since it does help out with the ratings. You can give us a 5-star, 4-star, or even 1-star, but hey, man, be honest. Tell us what you like, what you don't like about the show, and help bring new listeners to the Bulls Podcast. Again, that link is bullspodcast.com/Apple to get the show on iTunes. And the Bulls are officially eliminated from the playoffs. I know, Wise, my head hung low. With that loss to the Lakers this week, the Bulls are officially out of contention to reach the NBA playoffs. While we all knew this would be the outcome for the season, at least halfway through the season, we did have extremely high hopes. Now, if you recall, listeners, at the start of the Bulls podcast back in August, both Wise and I were predicting that the Bulls would make the playoffs, in addition to some of our new rookies that we got. And we even said, I listened to it, that we thought Jabari would make the all-star team. What were we thinking? Yeah, we did.
Are you serious?
We did. Okay. Go listen to shows 2 and 3, man. We're all over Jabari's jock. Much to our dismay, the season changed for the worse right before our very eyes. Players didn't meet our expectations. We were plagued with injuries. We fired Fred Hoiberg. Isn't it funny? We barely even remember that Hoiberg was the coach at the beginning of the year. And Jim Boylan brought in overall vibe changes from enthusiasm to winning to reluctantly praying for losses. We wanted to support a tank once things started going south, just to get a whiff of some of these top draft picks that are coming out. So is it a surprise the Bulls didn't make the playoffs? I guess not, but man, you and I are even going to lose money on Vegas bets.
We are. But man, I don't know if I predicted they would make the play. Did I say they would make the playoffs?
Yeah, we both
I know
did.
I thought they would win more than 27 games.
Yeah.
I can't believe we said the play. You know what? But whatever. It really doesn't matter regardless. They aren't doing either, so a lot of our bubbles will burst. But look, man, to save face, the Bulls do have a lot to be excited about, even based on what we've seen this year. We have 2 rising stars in LaVine and Marketing who are both under 25 years old. We have our 2 rookies from this year, both who look to have a lot of promise, and they each made us stronger at 2 positions that we needed. Jim Boylan seems to have won over the locker room by, having these young players listen to what he's preaching and just understanding his philosophy, which may be a great thing because I think many of us forget that Boylan is from the Popovich tree and he has 3 NBA championship rings. So the man knows basketball. I think it just took maybe a little bit of tweaking his approach to gain some common ground between him and the younger players, and not to mention, what Otto Porter has done, helping to reshape the culture of the team and giving us a legitimate wing player and everything like that. And also, guys, we also have a healthy chance at the number 1 or number 2 pick this year for the draft based on how the lottery algorithm is now. So while we won't be going to the playoffs this year, we definitely have a lot to look forward to in the coming seasons. And for real this time. Not, the Jabari thing and all of that, but for real this time. I'm confident in saying that come next season.
Yep, we're a point guard away, and we got some actually big discussion coming up later on in terms of Kris Dunn. So let's go on to other news. LeBron James passed Michael Jordan, but I'm sorry, Michael Jordan is still the GOAT. There was a lot of hype around the NBA and especially in social media about LeBron finally passing Michael Jordan on the all-time scoring list. And I've heard so much talk about LeBron's the GOAT. And, man, every NBA Facebook group that I'm on is just a LeBron jock sniffer, man. They just – half of them are just like, oh, man, he's the best. But I'm sorry, man. That's because you're just not old enough to remember how great Michael Jordan was. And so no self-respecting Bulls fan would ever allow such talk. And here's why. Yeah, LeBron passed Michael Jordan in points. But guess what? It took him 150 more games, almost 5,000 more minutes of playing time, 868 more free throws, and 3,202 more three-pointers. So, yeah, LeBron's going to cement his legacy on the league, but he's never, ever going to be the greatest of all time. Not unless he finds a way to get 3 more rings, and as old as he is, that ain't going to happen.
Look, man, this debate is never going to end amongst LeBron-era fans and MJ-era fans. But look, if you ask me, it's really kind of meaningless to compare these two dudes because they played in 2 totally different eras. What we have to do is basically play on hypotheticals. Would LeBron have been great in MJ's era during the 80s and 90s? I don't think many people would say he wouldn't be, because obviously he would have had to adapt to the way the game was played then. And you look at what LeBron has done over his career in terms of his skill level, he's basically Magic Johnson on steroids. So would he have been great? No brainer. But then you take Mike and put him in this era. I don't think I even really have to say what he would do. If you're too young and didn't see Mike play before, go on YouTube and check out Chicago Bulls games in the 90s. Quality isn't great, but they show full games. So if you ask me, this really is a debate about rings and how they were won. LeBron has 3, had to leave his team to get the first 2 he won. And the last one he made sure he had 2 all-star sidekicks with him before rejoining the franchise that drafted him to get it. And sad to say, but I don't see him winning another one for the rest of his NBA career. I just don't. And with Mike, simply put, he won 6. He never left the franchise that drafted him to get him. And he never was taken to a Game 7 in the NBA Finals. So because of that, I have to say Mike is still the GOAT. And, I mean, you have those people who will say, well, if that's the case, then Bill Russell is the GOAT because he won 11 rings. Yeah, but
it might be.
But not all championships are created equal, which is the case that I'm making with this whole, LeBron and Jordan talk, because to me, like back then, no offense, but the NBA wasn't Showtime. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't Showtime like it is now. The talent wasn't great, and the league was nowhere near as big as it has become during the latter years. But all in all, man, MJ still reigns supreme in basketball.
MJ won rings with guys like Scott Williams and Bill Wennington and Luke Longley. These guys aren't all-stars. They aren't the Warriors, right? They're not all NBA or anything like that. They won with lunch bucket guys. Arguably, they had the greatest duo in Jordan and Pippen. And then when they threw Rodman into the mix, that got even better because Bulls finally got somebody who could hit the boards and drag in some rebounds.
I think it's a conversation. It's how it happened too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's how Mike went about getting his. You have to take that into consideration, because like I said, they're 2 different eras. So it's not like they ever went against each other. Both of them are great, obviously. And, I mean, LeBron, he kind of, he took the easier route to get his. Mike's was the old-fashioned, organic way. So, I mean, it is what it is, though.
Yep. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to talk about 3 potential trades that we can execute for Kris Dunn right after this. Hey, everybody, remember, we are a new show, and we do need your support in social media. We made it really simple to find us with some special redirect links. You can find us at Bulls Podcast on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, and go to bullspodcast.com/Facebook to get tied into our Facebook group. And if you'd like to subscribe to the show, we are on Apple Podcasts at bullspodcast.com/Apple, on Stitcher, bullspodcast.com/Stitcher, and on Spotify at bullspodcast.com/Spotify. Okay, we're going to talk about 3 potential trades for Kris Dunn. And as we wind down the season, it's time to start thinking about some of the trades that we can do. We're going to whip out our trade machine here pretty quick. We need to improve this offense and get rid of some of the dead weight on our roster. Fansided just came up with a new article focusing on how to remove Kris Dunn from Chicago. And if we draft somebody like Ja Morant, it's over for Dunn. And these are some great side benefits to this as well. Scenario 1, the Utah Jazz. The Bulls would get a protected 2020 first-round pick, Tony Bradley, and Raul Neto. And Utah would just get straight up Kris Dunn. We'd be exchanging a late first-round pick and a pair of end-to-end bench players. That's not a lot in terms of them to give up for a number 5 pick in Kris Dunn. However, the Bulls got to look to acquire any assets possible this summer, as Dunn no longer appears to be in this franchise long-term plans. Grabbing a future first-round pick would be a welcome addition to Chicago's vault of trade assets. It seems like we just got a big stockpile going. We own all of our future picks for the next 5 years, except for maybe a couple of second-rounders that we acquired. The Bulls also have an excess amount of young talent, which could potentially be flipped for a top-tier player down the road if the stars align. In terms of Utah, Raul Neto would probably be waived immediately, but Tony Bradley would actually make a nice addition to this developing Bulls team. Only seeing the court for a total of 38 minutes in his injury-plagued career, the Jazz don't really have time to hope that he puts it all together. The fact is even more apparent when you consider defensive juggernaut Rudy Gobert is on the court for 32 minutes a night, which totally limited Bradley's chance to even compete. Grabbing a future pick and taking a flyer on a young big on a cheap team to control for the next 2 years would be a sizable haul for the Bulls. It would basically open up the opportunity for Ryan Arcidiacono to return to the team, as well as allow the Bulls to turn their full attention towards finding a starting point guard in the draft or in free agency. What do you think about this Utah trade?
For me, it depends on how low this first-round pick is. Because while Dunn hasn't developed the way many of us hoped, I still think he's better than a late first-rounder who may ultimately turn into a role player at best. You know, Kris Dunn may be a role player himself, but I think he's a quality one. And you know, I guess this really depends on if Kris would want to stay with the team or not once his rookie deal is up, which when I think about it, you know, I guess he most likely wouldn't, especially if we draft a Ja Morant or another point guard or whatever. So I guess for that matter, why not? You know, we have to roll the dice on that and hope the late first rounder turned out nicely or even one of the other pickups. But if Kris would be willing to re-sign because he sees the vision of the team for some miraculous reason, I wouldn't do the deal.
Yeah. All right, here's one that I think is one of the best out of these 3. Scenario number 2, the Memphis Grizzlies. The Bulls get Mike Conley. Memphis gets Kris Dunn, Cristiano Felicio, Antonio Blakeney, a 2021 first-round pick, and a 2020 second-round pick. That's a lot. But as we know, Conley might be the most underrated player in the NBA. If you ever watched the games Memphis versus the Bulls this year, Conley kicked our ass. His play style would be perfect next to Zach LaVine. Per 100 possessions, Conley averages 9.5 assists and only 2.9 turnovers. That's huge. His vet leadership and ability to create for his teammates would be an invaluable asset for this young Bulls team. He's, I think, 30. How old is he? 31. Adding him to the Bulls' current lineup would instantly make this team a playoff team, possibly even good enough to compete with the top 5 in the East. Talent of Conley's level usually requires a much bigger package, but the Bulls have several factors working in their favor here. There aren't many buyers in the point guard market. 9 out of the top teams already have a good point guard, almost all-star level. The Indiana Pacers are the only ones that don't. Point guard is actually the deepest position in the league, yet we don't have one, which is weird. So Conley has got a fat contract. It's huge. Few teams that are actively looking to add a top-tier point guard to the roster, they can't even afford a guy like Conley, but we can.
Right.
If we move around guys like Dunn, Felicio, and Antonio Blakeney, Conley's contract would expire right at the time that Lowry Markkanen would hit restricted free agency, so we could keep him. Also, remember, too, Memphis is not that great at negotiating deals. Bulls saw this firsthand, how we traded away Justin Holiday in exchange for Wayne Selden and 2 future draft picks. And I'm sorry, but Wayne Selden's better than Justin Holiday. Any day. At the trade deadline, they downgraded Marc Gasol and went with Valanciunas, a second-round pick, and a few piles of scrap from Toronto's bench. So Memphis might have the worst poker face in all of the league when it comes to dealing with that. One clear drawback in this move would mean that probably we wouldn't be able to keep Robin Lopez. And last week we talked about what it would take to keep him. If he took a vet minimum, we could probably keep him. But if he wants anything more than that, which he probably will, might not be able to keep him. But we also might be able to throw Joakim Noah in this, and he's going to be hitting free agency this summer, and Conley and Joe might be a good pairing, especially Joe coming off the bench to replace Felicio, who we're trading away. I'll take Joakim Noah over Felicio any day. Any day.
Of course, no brainer.
Conley is a great talent, and I think that he would change the dynamic of this team immensely and quick. What do you think of this trade scenario-wise?
I love the fact that we get off of Felicio's contract in this deal, obviously. And also that we wouldn't have to give up this year's or next year's pick either, because by 2021, the Bulls should be a complete and established team that's at least in the playoffs consistently. So the pick wouldn't be that high anyway. My only drawback is Mike Conley's health, man, because he's a pretty injury-prone point guard. And, he's making an insane amount of money that we have to pay on top of what we have to dish out to Otto as well, And say if Conley did, have decent health with us, what if we drafted Ja Morant? You know what I'm saying, this year, or even a Darius Garland. Nowadays, you want your prize players to get experience as soon as possible, and Conley would stunt that, obviously. I don't know, man. All in all, it's not a bad trade, but I definitely have to think hard on this one.
Okay. Let me throw you another one. Scenario 3, Miami. The Bulls get Ryan Anderson and a 2022 second-round pick. Miami gets Kris Dunn and Felicio. This is not a huge trade. It's probably one of the best moves the Bulls actually could do to diffuse the Dunn situation. Ryan Anderson is a good player. He's earned a less than stellar reputation, though, simply because the Houston Rockets overpaid for his services. In reality, he's a 38% shooter from deep with a career 16.5 per. An added second-round pick serves as kind of insurance from Miami, who seemingly hands them out like candy. Anderson's played in 46 playoff games and actually could provide some really good leadership to the team that's got a lot of young and inexperienced talent. I mean, the Bulls do. His abilities as a stretch four would make him a great bench piece, filling the second largest hole in the lineup as the backup power forward now that Bobby Portis is gone. Anderson's presence would allow the Bulls to divert their full attention to the search for a starting caliber point guard, as well as serve as a mentor for Markkanen. The real superstar of this trade, though, is the financial flexibility, with the projected cap to spike up to $118 million in 2020. Dumping Felicio's contract would be a huge win between the entire young core of Markkanen, LaVine, Porter, Carter, and Hutchinson. The Bulls have about $62.6 million committed to the group. So, dude, that's like $56 million to make a splash through free agency in 2020. 56 mil, man. We could buy two guys. Two top-level guys with that money. What do you think of this Miami scenario?
Now, with this one, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all because, as you mentioned, it frees up cap space in the future, and it also gives us a chance to play around with the roster in my eyes. If the Bulls aren't fortunate enough to draft a nice point guard prospect. What I mean by this is if the Bulls have to pick third or fourth and grab another wing, depending on if they decide that Garland isn't worth a pick that high or something, then they can continue this project of playing Zach at point while filling the wing with, a nice high potential prospect or something. Also, we get rid of Felicio and we don't have to give up any future assets either. So I'm definitely not mad at this one. I actually like this one. Plus, we get, as you mentioned, a decent backup four who would be able to stretch the floor for us as well, giving us an added shooter, which we need. So I'm not mad at this one. This one, it's not taking much away from us. We're not giving anything up for this, So I like it.
That's right. All right. That's, pretty healthy stack there in terms of what it is that we can get for Kris Dunn. We'll probably in the next coming weeks be whipping out the trade machine and see what we can do with it. We'd love to hear your take. Give us a call, 312-239-8586, and we'll play your responses next week on the show. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then Wise and I are going to see how we did in our predictions for last week and predict this week's upcoming games. Okay, Wise, last week we predicted a 2-1 record for the 3 games that happened last week. The Bulls actually outperformed our tanking expectations by losing all 3 of those games. Even you said that the Lakers couldn't even sniff a win, and they beat us. They wiped out a 20-point lead and came back to win that one. So 2-1 is what we predicted. 0-3 is what they got. Good job, guys. Thanks for, making the tank dream come alive to us once again. Yeah. So here's what we got this week, Wise. We have the Bulls at the LA Clippers Friday, March 15th. I was going to go to that game, but I'm sorry. I don't like paying $400 for 300 level seats.
No. What?
Yep.
For the Clippers?
Yeah. Sunday, March 17th, the Bulls at Sacramento.
Okay.
And then we got the Battle of the Tanks. We got Bulls at Phoenix on Monday, March 18th. And Wednesday, March 20th, the Bulls in the UC versus Jabari Parker, Bobby Portis, and the Washington Wizards. So where are you at with these?
All right. Now, if Zach were here, I think that my thoughts on a couple of these games will be different. Like even in this first one, although the Clippers are a really nice team, I just thought that the Bulls were really clicking. They were really clicking on mostly all cylinders when they had all of their guys. But since Zach has gone down, it's kind of changed the way we have to view some of these win predictions. So I'm going to say this game versus the Clippers is a definite L. Versus the Sacramento Kings, and L. Versus the Phoenix Suns, those dudes can't do anything right. I think even without a Zach LaVine, I think we could possibly win that one. And versus the Washington Wizards, if Zach LaVine were in this game, I think the Bulls would beat them. Just because the Wizards beat us the last time we played them, and I wouldn't see them beating us twice in a row. They aren't that much better of a team than we are, but, we aren't at full strength right now either. And although they don't have their star point guard in John Wall, I think that I just think that they probably would still pull this one out before we would. So I'm going to say that we're probably going to go 1-3 on this trip.
No, 1-3? Okay, so you think that we're going to lose to Washington?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm saying we're going to go 2-2. No, wait. I'm saying 1-3. Yeah. So I'm saying a loss to LA. I'm agreeing with you there. A loss to Sacramento. Agree with that. I think they're going to actually lose in Phoenix.
Do you?
Yeah, I think Booker's going to do a little damage. I don't know. Depends. I mean, if Zach plays, we're going to kick their ass. Okay, so Wednesday, March 20th, Bulls versus the Wizards. I'm going to say a dub. I think Otto's due for a nice revenge game. I really do. So we'll see how that happens. I'm going to say obviously 1-3, and you got 1-3 also with the Bulls winning in Phoenix. All right. Well, we'll take a quick timeout. We're going to close it all out, but next week we'll go over those predictions and see how we did. We'll be right back right after this. And that's going to do it, folks. Remember that you can call the Bulls Podcast call-in line at 312-239-8586. And you can call that anytime. Leave us a message. Go ahead and save it in your phone if you want to. 312-239-8586. Remember that you can follow Wise Black at twitter.com/radical_creator. And he's also on Instagram, radical_creator. You can find me on social anywhere, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and the like, all at Marcus Couch. Everything show related you can find at Bulls Podcast and bullspodcast.com. Remember, check out our compilation website where you get this Bulls podcast and all the other Bulls podcasters out there over at bulls.fm. Wise, closing thoughts for this show?
As always, people, we love and appreciate the support for the pod, so please continue to connect with us, as my partner said. So that's pretty much it. Peace.
All right. Remember, Bulls fans, our Magic Tankathon number is down to just 16 more losses, and we're only in double digits, 99 days away from the NBA draft and only 62 days from the NBA lottery. Until next time, thank you for listening, everyone. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Hey, Bulls fans. This is your Bulls championship announcer, Ray Clay, saying, so long, everybody. Go Bulls.
Fuck LeBron.
Oh, keep that.